Hello. It is time. As Straight Buster says in the chat, pack it up, pack us in, and let us begin. That's well put. That's well put. I got to get mine in here. All right, here we go. Gum pillow. All right, now we can start. I wanted to highlight another comment in the chat here because this is I'm going to use this now. Straight Buster, popping out Straight Busters this morning. Good afternoon, Astro lads and ladies. It's your favorite afternoon morning show. Well, see, now I'm obligated to only do it in the afternoon so that I can continue to call it an afternoon morning show. Look what you've done. You've done it. How you guys doing? I just finished setting up. There was a couple of people who've reached out and asked. They don't necessarily want to join the Discord, but they wanted to know how they could support the show otherwise. So I just set up a Buy Me a Coffee. If you go to Buy Me a Coffee at kingpilled or buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled, then there's some lower dollar amounts that you guys can subscribe to. If you're not going to get anything for it, I think I give you a shout out if you do one of the higher tiers. But if you want to support the show, I know there's some people out there who said they wanted to. So if you want to do that, you can go there, buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled. All right, we got a whole heck of a lot of stuff here to get through today, and I dropped off probably like, I don't know, 6 major tweets or stories or subjects, and still this is gonna be a long one. I'm going to try to get through it as quickly as I can, but I did tell you guys yesterday, and then I forgot to pull this up. I told you guys that we're going to talk about Phantom Americans. So now I need to scroll back up and get my script for it. Here we go. All right, so we're going to get to Phantom Americans here in just a little bit. I've got the script ready, brought to you by one of the members of the King Pill Discord, who put most of this together as we were discussing the other night. If he wants to air himself out, he's welcome to. I know he's generally a fairly private fellow, so I'm not going to do that. But we'll talk about Phantom Americans here in just a minute when it lines up with the stories. First of all, let's see. Oh, come on. It's going to do this to me again. All right. Start of the day. I've got to go dig around and find the first tab before it gets them all in order. All right. There it is. So we'll play the video, and then I got a thought on it.
There's a situation. You're not even supposed to be here today.
Nope.
But cat in a Mercedes.
Tinker, come on over and find this kitty cat.
Find the cat.
How do we know there's a cat?
Test driving it, they said they heard a cat.
Come on. Oh, you are in there. I do see you, and you're in a bad spot.
Where is he?
Oh.
In here.
He's right there. She's right there. I see you. You got a pretty face.
Can we push it in and then try to get her from underneath?
Yeah, we're gonna have to.
I think that's the best bet.
All right, I'm going to just say it here. If you don't talk to your little animals like they're infants, maybe toddlers, then you're not a real man. I was thinking about this while I was saying goodnight to my dog the other day, and laid down on the ground and was laying there and petting him, and he's rolling around, and I was baby talking him, and I was like, you know what? If you're a guy and you don't baby talk your animals, I don't trust you.
Uh-oh. She gone. Where'd she go? Can't see her?
No, where's she at?
See her?
Yes, I see her now. Come here. Yeah, you definitely gonna need the, you're gonna need that welding glove because she's hissing. She's scared.
Look. Yes. Oh, come here. Oh, you got me. You're getting me. Come on, girl. Come on. No, don't crawl back up. You want to come down.
There she is.
I got you.
You're safe now. You don't want to be up there.
I got you. You don't want to be in here. Oh, you're so pretty.
Tink.
Look at how pretty you are.
Good girl, Tink.
You're not even scared of a tinker.
Look at her. She's so freaking cute. I love kittens, man. I grew up a cat guy, then became more of a dog guy around the time I got my dog, and then we got a cat, and I'm right back to the cat loving world. Otters are the best. If you want to get straight to my heart, if you want anything from me, otters. Give me videos of otters. They're such malicious little assholes, and they're frickin' adorable. Cutest things in the world. River otters, sea otters, doesn't matter to me. Give me some otters. All right, we've got an update to a very important story. We watched RFK's walking out to Hero by the gay AIDS band, and this has now been corrected.
But he's highly respected. He is a great person. I've known him for so long. For the past 16 months, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Oh, man. It is crazy how much that gets me fired up. That is so good. The campaign absolutely has to do it. Absolutely has to do it. They have to have Trump and Vance walk out to that song at some point. I know they're out there listening. Our circles are much closer than they've ever been. I wish I could tell you guys some of the stuff that I hear, but I'm sworn to secrecy. We are very, very close. Listen to us. Trump and Vance walking out to Creed. It will break the internet. It perfectly vibes with the existing spirit of the campaign. Fits in perfectly. One other thing that needs to happen, and this is another one that I think we can test our closeness to them. JD Vance needs to walk out at a rally or at something. He needs to be in a place where the Halo theme song is played. You will speak directly to the hearts of every American man between the ages of, 20 and 45. It will be absolutely legendary. We will understand. We will get it. Some people won't, but the most important demographic to the campaign will get it immediately. JD Vance needs to walk out to the Halo theme song. Can you imagine that? Like the lights go down, it's dark, and then you get the I'm not going to do it, but you get the vocalizing choir sound building up, and then as he comes out, it's the dun da da dun da da. Oh my God, it would be so good. It has to happen. Straight Buster says, I never gave the Creed update. That's right, man. He says it was a spiritual experience. We were front row like 15 feet from the stage. Oh, my God. Oh, that had to be so good. Oh, man. I know they're out there listening. I know this word can get to them. So make it happen. Okay. The Mongolian SS. This just cracked me up. I had to play it. This is one of those I thought about dropping out. I was like, no. It has to happen. I'll speed it up just a little bit.
I'm in Ulaanbaatar, the capital city of Mongolia. It's the 20th of April, and about to meet a group of people that celebrate this date every year because it's Hitler's birthday. This is a very important day for you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, if it's okay with you, can we ride with you and we can hear about what your ideology is?
Our custom in Mongolia is that if the guest is polite, then so is the host. But if they abuse us, we will retaliate. I like this vibe.
They are celebrating the event with a motorcade through the capital.
This right here. Oh my God. The Mongolian SS is doing a motorcade in Priuses. These guys are the best.
Are now arriving. I'm shocked by that. Often in this job, you talk about what you're going to experience.
I don't know if I've ever seen a greater divergence between like physical appearance and voice combination with ideological presentation. This guy's looks like he could be some sort of I don't know, some sort of deep agent or something like that, and he's being a total queen about this. He's got a cool accent. You know how we are as Americans. We like to make fun of the limeys, but we also just spaz out over their accents. He's got a cool accent, and he's just being a complete. I don't know if I can say the word I want to say, so I'm going to say queen. There's some stuff I'm going to play later today that there's a very good chance that it gets I get my first channel strike from it. We're going to see if it happens. We're going to toe the line today and see what happens. But this, yeah. So I'm just going to call him a queen for now.
Before you experience it, and this is one of those moments where it is more surreal than I can ever have imagined. I'm in Mongolia and I'm with people dressed up as SS stormtroopers. After decades of communist rule, Mongolia became a democracy just over 20 years ago. What had been a police state became much more liberal, with free elections and an independent police force. But I'm still surprised that this demonstration of Nazi hatred is allowed to go ahead. We're about to parade through.
The dude's literally told him, our custom is that if you're polite, then we're going to be polite with you. If you attack us, if you abuse us, then we're not going to be. We were going to retaliate. And then he's describing as a display of hatred. Pathetic. You're pathetic. You limey, bald bastard.
The major street, it's called Peace Avenue, to celebrate Hitler's birthday.
They're going down Peace Avenue. Oh, man. Now, on the flip side of the manliness spectrum, reminder, never, ever insult MyPillows to Mike Lindell, ever. You should also go buy a MyPillow from Pazzo's link here.
Okay, and I'm not asking about the lumpy pillow calls.
No, they're not lumpy pillows. That's not what they call on. Okay? That when you say lumpy pillows, now you're an asshole. You got that? You're an asshole, is what you are. No, he's an asshole. No, he's an ambulance chasing asshole. That's what you are. The lumpy pillows, kiss my ass. Put that in your book. No, they answer anything, any problem customer that wants to reach Mike Lindell. Those are the ones. I want to talk to Mike Lindell. I want to talk to Mike Lindell. They send them to here and they go, or they call about maybe they didn't get their pillow on time because of the FedEx or whatever. Well, we'll cover them even though it could be somebody else's fault. Nobody called because of a lumpy pillow. But good one though.
You done?
Yeah, I'm done.
What I'm saying.
Obviously, you don't have a MyPillow too. You don't, do you?
What I'm saying is, Mr. Lindell.
Asshole. What, go ahead. No, I'm pissed.
I understand.
Yeah, go. When you're saying what?
I don't know if anybody has redeemed themselves more over the last year than Mike Lindell. The dude has put his own ass on the line, and he is. I want to see him vindicated. He's a good dude. I love it. I love it. The funny thing is they kind of are lumpy pillows. But like, it's not a bad thing. It's not bad that they're lumpy. This is got a kind of a natural feel to it. They're very comfortable. I like the MyPillows. They're not my style because they're thicker than, and I like things that are a little that aren't as thick just because I've got neck problems. But someone's gonna clip that. I like things that are not as thick because I've got neck problems. Anyways, but I think they're great pillows. I think they're nice. Amy's got a couple, and I love Mike Lindell. Go support Mike Lindell and Jack Posobiec. I know the backstories. I know all the things about Jack Posobiec. I know. You get your autisms out, yell, scream, spurg. But I like him. I don't care. Great ad here from RFK. There's a triggering part of it, but generally the spirit of it is very good. And campaigning for campaigning, this is very, very good. This is powerful stuff.
Do you know what this wonderful country is made of? It's made up of 100 different kind of people, and 100 different ways of talking, and 100 different ways of going to church. But they're all American ways. Wouldn't we be silly if we went around hating people because they comb their hair different than ours?
But we can perhaps remember, if only for a time, that those who live with us are our brothers, and surely we can begin to work a little harder to bind up the wounds among us and to become in our hearts brothers and countrymen once again.
Again, at a very similar crossroads, we have a unique opportunity not only to diffuse those tensions, but to take a radically different path. It starts by seeing within others and within ourselves that which is not selfish, but is brave and generous and idealistic and has good intentions.
Think about that, fellas. Use your good American heads. Don't let anybody make suckers out of you. Well, gotta go to work.
This is like perfectly representative, for better or for worse. This is perfectly representative of the new inner party. The new inner party is similar to the former inner party. It's obviously got lots of crossovers. There's still lots of the same initiatives persisting in the background, but it's also very different. It's very different. This message of optimism and unity, this is very, very powerful, particularly coming from a Kennedy with a quote from a Kennedy in it. To the normie mind, this is really powerful stuff. We've been predicting for a while here that we're headed into we're going through a total shift, a total realignment of American politics. And there is going to be a new inner party. The new inner party is going to be the Republicans. This is the trajectory that we're on right now. Now, things can happen that can knock us off that trajectory, but barring really extreme black swan events, and I think even I would make a case that even with various different black swan events, it's still going to happen. There is a direction to history that you can influence, but you can't always prevent. Sometimes certain things are just going to happen. And we're moving into an era where I would say probably for the next 10 to 20 years, somewhere in that time frame, maybe a little on the short end, 8 years, could be a little longer. We're moving into an era where the Republican Party is going to represent the inner party. That's going to be the party of the power brokers. And they're going to be directed in some of the same ways they've always been. There's some initiatives that just never end. You can fight them all you want. More power to you. I beating my head against a brick wall doesn't seem like fun to me. Or a stone wall, as the case may be. But there's also going to be some very different initiatives. We're seeing a reconstitution of the ruling coalition around different priorities in toto. Some of the like micro priorities are going to be the same because this is how every transition to a new ruling coalition works. It's never this isn't an outside force coming in and taking over the thing and replacing it altogether. This is an inside force coming up, splitting off some stuff and adding in new stuff. And a lot of the new stuff that's being added in is very, very good. It almost breaks down perfectly like that the old stuff, the stuff that's retained from the original ruling coalition, is almost all bad. They're going to retain the bad stuff, but they're going to bring in the new stuff. So you could set yourself to fighting and arguing and warring against the old stuff and continuing that path, see where it takes you. But for me, I like the new stuff that's coming. I want to see the new stuff. I think we have an existential need for the new stuff. So I also happen to believe that the more of the new stuff that we want, the more of the good stuff that we want, the way you get it is by very openly advocating for it. It increases the likelihood of it actually coming to pass. So real quick here, I had something from Nicole Shanahan related to the RFK thing, but a thing I just saw I wanted to bring to your guys' attention just before I went live. So we've talked about some of the polls here, and like very obviously the polls are fake. The polls are fake and gay, but that doesn't mean that they don't deliver information. You can still derive information from them, just don't take them at face value. This is like a midwit test. The midwits are just like, oh, you talk about the polls are all fake. Oh, how can you even? Yes, the polls are fake, obviously. But the fact that they're fake and the way that they're faked still delivers information. So here's a very interesting one. Eric Doherty, who is a assistant news director for Florida Voice News, he's been dropping some good poll information lately. Breaking Michigan poll. So first of all, let's look at the sample. This is how one of the ways they fake the polls. This is from ActiVote. The sample. D55, R30, I15. So they've wildly oversampled Democrats. 55% Democrats and 45% combined Republicans and independents. So from this wildly oversampled poll, these are the results we get. Harris, 50.1%. Trump, 49.9%. Wildly oversampled. Harris is up 0.2%. Independents, 78% Trump, 22% Harris. If this is the case, if this is even close to the case in Michigan, these are epic blowout numbers. These are Reagan-esque numbers. If they're actually real. Who knows if they are? Obviously, they're when you're dealing with it's a small sample size, 400 and likely voters. So there's all sorts of noise in this. But the fact that it's being released this way, like basically they jiggered the poll to get Harris in the lead. Just a tiny little bit. But this isn't how the actual this isn't even close to what the actual population is. So if this is true, directionally, then the fortifiers have a hell of a job laid out for them. We're going to get to that here in just a second. But first of all, this sort of sentiment here coming from RFK's VP. I played a couple interviews of her, and you could tell she's genuinely really like personally affected by everything that's been happening to them. And even now, Cheryl Hines, based on some of the conversations RFK's been having, I wouldn't be surprised if Cheryl Hines is probably persona non grata. Like she is going through something very traumatic right now. She is being ostracized from all of her social groups, being treated. She is being dumped, treated like a leper. That's the sort of thing that begins to radicalize a person really quickly. And all the people that are associated with her, who aren't aggressively dumping her, they also get jarred by it. So this is part of this realignment that's happening. she says she plays this video about this new special counsel Jack Smith has announced has filed. I don't know if they're new charges. I don't know. I'm not a law dork. He's making another Hail Mary attempt at prosecuting Trump, and based on the recently released Supreme Court opinion, he rejiggered the case and resubmitted it. So I'm not even going to play the thing for you. You guys can go. This is a stupid CNN broad blabbering about it. I don't really value her input, so you can go find out more about that if you want. But Nicole Shanahan's take is, she says, I'll admit I used to kind of roll my eyes when people claimed that President Trump was being persecuted. I was looking at it through the distorted filter of the media. Well, I just completed my first cross-examination in our second New York ballot access case, where the DNC-aligned PAC attorneys questioned me like a criminal. Okay, I get it now. Our justice system is clearly being co-opted and abused by nefarious people with malevolent political agendas. So, again, this is the ex-wife of Google founder, longtime core Democrat constituent. Now, she's like, wait a second, I thought this system was just supposed to be used against bad people, but I'm not a bad person. Why is it being used against me? To the normie, that is a radicalization vector, big time. So okay, now I don't have something to share here really. But I'm just gonna read this theory about phantom Americans that is brought to you by random username in the chat. He gave me a go ahead to air them out. So random username in the chat, who is one of our longest members of the King Pill Discord. Very good man. He says, so this is the theory. Illegal immigration is a cover for massive money laundering. The money laundering, not the illegal immigration, is the real goal. The number of illegals in the country are way overestimated. Now, I'll say me personally, so this is part of the theory. The theory is that they're way overestimated. That there isn't actually the number of people who have legally, the number of people who have on the record come across the border does not correspond to the actual physical human beings who have entered the country. Here's why. Prelude. In the Soviet Union, individuals running factories would report more workers than actually existed to trick the central government to send more resources than was intended. They would then sell these resources allocated for these fake people and pocket the difference. When the Soviet Union fell in the early 1990s, this same group of financial fraud experts migrated from Eastern Europe, large percentage from Ukraine, into the Americas and kept the scam going. In America, they shifted their focus to illegal aliens. The financial fraud is largely the same. The federal government sends out resources to individuals. This system is regularly abused. For example, not reporting the death of a relative and collecting their Social Security benefits. Illegals, likewise, receive thousands of dollars per month in financial incentives every month, from housing to food to NYC just handing out debit cards. Why not just create ledger entries for fake illegals and receive benefits for people who don't exist, like in the Soviet Union? The perfect mask for this is an open border. 5,000 real humans could theoretically cross in a day. Would anyone notice if 8,000 people were logged? Perhaps a lot of illegals never show up to their immigration hearings because they don't exist. Phantom Americans, ledger entries that exist to commit financial fraud to the tune of trillions of dollars. Trillions. This isn't about turning California from 60% Democrat to 70% Democrat using mail-in ballots for people who don't exist. That's just a repercussion of the financial fraud. A symbiosis that works in tandem. What better to launder this fraud money from fake illegals than through organizations like ACT, fill in the blank here, for legal reasons. This is where those $200,000 donations to PACs come from on behalf of random individuals who are having their names used in the donations. It cleans the money. Once in the PAC, it can be freely distributed. It's almost a perfect scheme. No one is keeping track of how many illegals are coming in. Who's to say if an NGO is telling the truth with their record keeping? Now, enter Ken Paxton. Good guy Ken just posted a letter publicly saying his office has been secretly investigating these NGOs for months. They probably expected to find groups registering illegals, but post-raids are probably finding something odd. That during the days that they were watching, say for example 200 people register and the book entries are showing 300. The fraud scheme is uncovered. The Phantom Americans ghost busted. This is why if they try a coup d'etat to remove to remove Paxton for so many years. He wasn't in on the fraud and he's competent. If he stumbled upon it, he likely would notice and quickly piece together what happened. America may have tens of millions fewer illegals in the country than estimated. Now, this is where I don't know for sure if it would be tens of millions. I think there's obviously been people who have been brought into the country. And then the estimate, some people will say, oh, there's 10 million. Some people say 25 million. Some people say 50 million. But this could be that disparity between the, say, 20 million and 50 million. Everyone's like, oh, there's the numbers are way underestimated. Well, maybe they are way underestimated. So there's still a whole bunch of people who've been brought into the country who don't belong here and who need to go back. But there's also way more fake people, phantom Americans. They're not just illegal, they're phantom. The actual physical human being does not exist. She says Americans may have tens of millions fewer illegals in the country than estimated. What it does have is ledger entries needed for the largest financial theft in the history of the world. I reckon that if this theory holds water, you would see these fraudsters trying to tie up loose ends in sloppy ways, like billionaires disappearing or their yachts sinking from storms. But what do I know? Nothing more, that's for sure. I'm not going to say these things out loud. He says, this is just fan fiction. Hollywood screenwriters, eat your heart out. Go about your lives. And then I know that he had some additional thoughts on this. He could post them in the chat if I don't remember where exactly he posted them. But this elaborating on the theory, like once you start looking at it from this way, then what's happening in Europe would be very interesting as well. It could be tied in. This is a global scheme, and there's a sort of a banality to it that we're going to import these people just so we can skim money off for them. Is not quite the same as like we're going to import these people so that we can subvert and destroy everything and kill millions and millions of people. But it's almost worse because it's like, oh, we're going to do that thing and we don't even care. We're going to do this really massive evil thing, and we don't even care about doing a massive evil thing because we're just skimming some money off for ourselves. I think there's some real legs to this, which makes a story like this extra interesting. California lawmakers approve AB 1840, which allows for illegal immigrants to receive up to $150,000 for down payments on homes. That's a very large sum of money. Like this isn't like Kamala at the national level has proposed like 20 or 25,000, but 150,000 and for illegal immigrants. It's almost like they have a whole bunch of money they need to wash. Like they need to get these sums out there in much larger amounts to clean them as quickly as possible to cover their tracks. The program is called the California Dream for All Loan Program, which will provide up to 20% down payment assistance up to $150,000. And this is in up to 20%, $150,000 in California. They're going to be hitting that $150,000 pretty frequently. The program was initially only for legal residents. However, the new version would allow for illegal immigrants to apply for the program. So it's like the more conservative thing, we're gonna push this out for legal residents because we need to get this money out there. We need to get some larger sums going. We got to clean this money quickly because our time might be up shortly. We need to cover our tracks. Now it's like, holy shit, we need to get this out as quickly as possible to as many people as possible. We don't even care. Cover all of our bases. Let's bring illegal immigrants in on it as well. California Governor Gavin Newsom is not yet committed to signing the bill into law. If the bill reaches his desk, the governor will evaluate it on its merits, said Newsom's spokesperson, or Newscomb, Gavin Newscomb. The bill was passed in the state Senate with a vote of 23 in favor and 11 not in favor. Be very interesting to go look at these 23, or maybe more, look at these 11. What makes these 11 stand out from these 23 within the context of phantom Americans? And then there's a thing about Newscomb railing on about something. But there's another part of this story that makes it even better. California's Department of Finance confirms that there is actually no available funding for the new bill passed by state lawmakers, which would allow undocumented immigrants to apply for $150,000 home loans funded by state taxpayers. Fascinating. It's almost like they're putting out the bat signal here to create a justification for a bunch of NGOs to come in and supply this funding. Very interesting. I wonder where those NGOs are getting that funding. Huh. Curious. Maybe someone should start looking into all of this. Maybe that's what Ken Paxton is doing. Who knows? Once you're dealing with sums of money that large, it takes men of genuine character to not get subverted and entrapped into it. There's the phrase, you can't con an honest man. Yeah, this is why I care less about the individual policies of someone like an RFK, and I care more about the quality of their character. There's a great irony to this, that the more someone is persecuted, attaining a position of power, and the more that persecution refines their character, the more fit they are to actually hold that power. Excuse me. So they're almost doing us a favor. This is the white pill on the whole persecution racket. It's like a refining fire. It winnows out all of the grifters and selects increasingly for the actual sincere good character people. Here's the man himself, random username. $5 super chat. Thank you, sir. He says, this theory holds even more for Europe. It explains basically all of geopolitics, wars to create migration. Right. This is the Pete Q has talked about the apparent civil war that's happening among a particular tribe. You've got like the war and banking side, and then you have the drag queen story hour side, and they seem to be engaged in a factional dispute of sorts. But the way that they exist hand in hand as a way of cycling money around through their community and their proxies. You get the wars. The wars are funded by the banks. And then the drag queen story hour side, they all move in after the war and set up these like racketeering networks. So this phantom Americans could be a phantom migrants thing in general, not just Americans. If this grift exists, which I'm very convinced that it is, if this grift does exist, it's like the most expansive global grift in the history of mankind. There's probably, I don't know, 20 to 50% of global GDP that's completely fake. At least. The legitimacy of any of the institutions is completely in question as like a legal financial entity. A fraud like this would implicate everything. It would have to. And there'd be once you start it, there would be no controlling it. It necessarily spreads across so many different domains, implicates so many different people, and wields such massive economic... It's like the largest industry in the world by orders of magnitude. Every major economy in the world is directed at supporting and sustaining this industry. There's no controlling that. There's no like keeping that on lock for a sustained period of time beyond decades. Which is why everything is going so haywire now. It's spinning out of control. It's getting more and more openly, flagrantly obvious and corrupt simultaneously. And there's so many people who are implicated in it that they're all scrambling. And I'm not saying that that every single person involved in this is aware of the extent of the whole thing. Each of them has their own little part that they play in it. They've been recruited in, and it's like an emergent phenomenon based on a certain handful of priors among a handful of people. That they create the economic incentive, and then it begins building. And the more that it builds, the stronger it gets, and the more people it pulls into its orbit. This is one of the most fascinating theories that he says Enron is nothing to this. Yeah, this is like a million Enrons. Worldwide fraud unlike anything else ever before. Mellon says Trump's going to get in and the economy's going to crash because all the fraud getting uncovered will take a bit to fix. Right, and that's the thing is that you don't just fix this because there's something that's this thoroughly burrowed into every aspect of life has to be excised carefully because you run the risk of someone like if your immune system, well, I'm going to put it this way to make sure this is YouTube friendly. If your immune system is so weak that it can't actually withstand chemotherapy, which I know is a real thing, then doing the chemotherapy to kill the cancer just to kill you too is a pointless exercise. You have to do something else. So it's kind of similar here. Taking down a worldwide network like this isn't something that can be done overnight. There's no quick fix to it. So the standard for the leadership can't be, are you flipping the switch that fixes this overnight? Because that switch doesn't exist. We have to hold our leaders to account, but we also have to hold them to account justly. We can't hold them to an account that they can't ever live up to. So, the Kamala campaign continues its very weird moves, reactive. Kamala's handlers telling Democrat mouthpiece Axios that she now supports a wall is a flashing red warning sign for her campaign. Their internal polling must be showing an absolute bloodbath with white males. They may have been better off sticking with Biden. Too late now. So what's he talking about? So Axios, Harris flip-flops on building the border wall. Axios is like one of the most transparent DNC rags. And they're even saying she flip-flops on building the border wall. If she's elected president, Kamala Harris pledges to spend hundreds of millions of dollars on the wall along the southern border, a project she once opposed and called un-American during the Trump administration. This is the latest example of Harris flip-flopping on her past liberal positions, such as supporting Medicare for all and banning fracking, proposals that aides say she is now against. Harris is embracing a more hawkish immigration policy as Donald Trump's campaign spends tens of millions of dollars attacking her about the border. But she still has significant differences with Trump on immigration, opposing his approach to family separation and his plans for mass deportations. The family separation thing, I remember digging into this when it was going on, and I was like, there are no easy, like, if you're bleeding heart, there are no bleeding heart friendly solutions to the immigration issue. Even 6-8 years ago when I was looking at this. Like, yeah, the family separation thing sucks. It sucks for the people who are genuine, just migrants who are fleeing some place and they're desperately trying to imagine the people who actually exist, that are the stories that get championed out of the dad who's just there with his wife and his kids trying to bring him across the border. Those people actually do exist. And for them to be separated sucks. However, this is what happens when you have a sustained effort to bring to smuggle people into the country. Because on the flip side, when they weren't separating families, well, what they did is they created an incentive for random men to just scoop up a kid and take him across and say, "Yeah, I'm his dad." And it was like a get into the country free card, basically. So yeah, family separation is it sucks, but this is what happens when you govern a nation. Sometimes you have to do things that suck. And in many cases it doesn't suck. It's a very, very good thing. And who cares if people don't like it? In her speech to the DNC last week, Harris said she would sign the recent bipartisan border security bill, which Trump had ordered his allies to kill, fearing it would help Democrats in the November elections. That bill, negotiated by senators such as James Lankford, a Republican from Oklahoma, and Chris Murphy, a Democrat from Connecticut, requires hundreds of millions of dollars of unspent funds to be used to continue building a wall on the border. It requires the Trump border wall, Lankford told Axios. It's in the bill itself that sets the standards that were set during the Trump administration. Here's where it will be built. Here's how it has to be built, the height, the type, everything during the Trump construction. Harris's campaign says the border deal is a whole lot more than continuation of wall funding and a tiny fraction of what Trump has proposed. Langford's office estimated the legislation would spend $650 million on a wall, down from the $18 billion Trump requested in 2018. The bill, which Murphy describes as a compromise, also included provisions with more money for asylum lawyers and judges for the overloaded immigration system. This is how they rig it. It also gave the president the authority to shut down the border if more than an average of 5,000 migrants cross per day. Harris's advisors note that the bipartisan border proposal didn't include any new money to continue building on the wall. It just extended the timeline to spend funds that had been appropriated during Trump's last year as president, they say, although the legislation has new restrictions that ensure the money is spent on barriers. Flashback. In declaring her candidacy in her first run for president in 2019, Harris called the wall Trump's, quote, medieval vanity project that wasn't going to stop transnational gangs from entering the U.S. In February of 2020, Harris wrote on Facebook that Trump's border wall is a complete waste of taxpayer money and won't make us any safer. In April of 2017, soon after joining the Senate, Harris said the wall was a stupid use of money. I will block any funding for it. Langford said he was surprised with Harris's full embrace of the border bill this year. He told Axios that Harris wasn't involved in the months-long negotiations. We never saw any vice president staff here. She was a Johnny-come-never. I know she's talking about it now, but she wasn't talking about it all before. This is all being published in Axios. When the bill was released, Murphy called it an aggressive plan, but didn't emphasize the money for the wall. We're creating bold new tools to get control of the border for the first time in a long time, he said in February, but our bill does not deviate from our nation's core values. President Biden, then the presumed Democratic nominee, lambasted Trump for demanding Republicans kill the compromise, calling it pure politics. He feels it would be a political win for me and a political loser for him, Biden said in his State of the Union address. But some Democrats also criticized Biden for embracing conservative and restrictive policies on immigration that were included in the bill. Senator Alex Padilla, a Democrat from Harris's home state of California, opposed the bill and said it fails to provide relief for a single dreamer, a single farm worker, a single essential worker, a long-term resident. Someone needs to investigate Alex Padilla. I've heard of him before. Beyond embracing the bipartisan bill, Harris's campaign has portrayed her as an immigration hardliner in ads. One Harris TV ad frames her time as California's attorney general as that of a border state prosecutor and includes images of the border wall. And another, Harris's team highlights her support of boosting the number of Border Patrol agents. Most of Trump campaign ads have attacked Harris for the Biden administration's struggle to deal with waves of migrants crossing the border. Like the wall itself, Harris's change on border policy reflects how Trump has shifted the political debate on immigration during the past decade. So the bottom line is poor Kamala is being dragged along by Trump, who is shifting the political debate. Which, you know what? That's true. That's exactly what's happening. This is probably one of the most glaring examples so far of the regime being forced to react and embrace Trumpian politics to some degree, at least rhetorically. Now, this is a very obvious thing that, like, this is entirely lip service for her to try for her campaign to sort of try to defend herself. But the fact that they're doing this on so many different things, while also there's news leaking out all the time about their internal polling data being catastrophic for her, this is signal. You could pick out of all the noise. This is signal as to where the country stands right now, where general sentiment is, where they sense sentiment is, what they see as their position with respect to the electorate and the narrative, so to speak. Another one. Just in, Kamala Harris campaign says she doesn't support an electric vehicle mandate. Right-wing nutters, powerful mutual on Twitter. He says, I've never seen Dems run this far to the right from where they were previously. This is an official statement from their campaign. Hi, all. This afternoon, the most unpopular VP pick in history, J.D. Vance, is set to deliver remarks, quote, on the economy, inflation, and manufacturing in Big Rapids, Michigan. He will undoubtedly lie, gaslight, and try to run away from the truth about what a Trump-Vance administration would do to the middle class. This is what's known as preemptive damage control. Below is a brief fact check of Trump and Vance's same tired lies about the economy. Be on the lookout for their greatest hits in Big Rapids. As always, if you need anything, please reach out. We would be happy to answer any questions about Trump and Vance's long history of abandoning workers to line the pockets of their ultra-wealthy buddies from Silicon Valley to Mar-a-Lago. Imagine if someone had showed you this like a year ago. It would have said, their ultra-wealthy buddies from Silicon Valley. The Democrats are counter-signaling Silicon Valley? Claim, Vice President Harris wants to force every American to own an electric vehicle. Fact, Vice President Harris does not support an electric vehicle mandate. Donald Trump rallied against the Inflation Reduction Act while the Biden-Harris administration oversaw the creation of tens of thousands of new clean energy jobs in Michigan and provided groundbreaking subsidies and tax credits for electric vehicles. So she does not support an electric vehicle mandate, despite having spent basically her entire political career signaling that way. And this is not just like, oh, she's pivoting. This is, we know what he's going to talk about, and we're concerned about our position in Michigan, so we need to try to get out ahead of it. Even though we're not like releasing any policy platform or anything like that. It's an entirely vibes-based campaign, and the vibes are atrocious. We're just ad hocing it together, reactively doing damage control to every single thing that Trump and Vance are doing as they are on the ascendancy. So another bit of signal in here is they're concerned about Michigan. And the fact that this story would be greenlit by Axios, the one on the border wall, is more evidence that Kamala may be the candidate, but she doesn't have the support of the party. She has the support of some people in the party opportunistically, but they are ready to bail at the first sign of anyone actually competent. The competency crisis has struck the regime. Michigan, competency crisis, here we go. You can't make this up. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson denied RFK's request to remove his name from the ballot. But she just attempted to remove Cornel West from the ballot, losing a court case that she's now appealing. So Cornel West, who despises Trump, he is trying to get his name on the ballot, and they're blocking him. But they're saying RFK can't remove his name from the ballot in the swing state because reasons. Michigan denies RFK Jr.'s escape from presidential ballot. Why it matters. Kennedy said last week that he would withdraw his name from the ballot in the key swing states to avoid hurting former President Trump's chances in November. But in Michigan, one of the states that could decide the election, it's too late for Kennedy to remove his name, per the Secretary of State's office. Minor party candidates cannot withdraw, so his name will remain on the ballot in the November election. Sherry Hardman, Senior Press Secretary for Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, said in a statement to Axios. At the same time, August 26, Cornel West back on Michigan's presidential ballot, judge rules. In Michigan, the state Democratic Party, Democratic Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson, and a voter backed by a Democratic-aligned political action committee had challenged West's candidacy. Benson's office plans to appeal Redford's decision, a spokesperson said. West's campaign called the opinion a decisive victory for democratic principles and voter choice. We are grateful for this affirmation and promise to continue championing the rights of all voters, West said in a statement. I think there was something else here. Yeah, so this is this Jocelyn Benson chick. I don't know what it is about Michigan and these deranged, creepy women, but check this out.
If someone were to violate the law and not certify the election at the local level, we will come for you. So any local certifier thinking of to violate the law, any local certifier thinking of skirting the law and not certifying the vote, don't even think about it because we'll get. I
wonder if we'll end up hearing about that clip later on. If you catch my drift. This is the behavior of just a completely spazzed out, scrambling, reactive regime that recognizes they're losing their grip on power. They're driving allies away at an increasing rate. Some of those people, Cornel West is never going to vote Republican, but he's absolutely not going to be. He's getting the message loud and clear, just like Nicole Shanahan. They're getting the message loud and clear. This regime does not exist for you. This is not your democracy. This is our democracy, and you just opted out of it. Okay, let me see what you guys are saying in the comments here. Random username says, only solution, nationalize the ghosts, the phantom Americans. Look at it like corporate fraud. Trump Mr. Magooed himself at the wall. This is why it was an irrational switch to attacking him in 2016. The fraud requires an open border, even caught Bernie off guard because unions dislike aliens. Bryce says, family separation is the price you pay for coming here illegally. Yes, correct. Straight Buster. Remember though, guys, nothing ever happens. Yeah, nothing happens. Nothing ever. All right. Speaking of a big happening, this might be the happening of all happenings. Chris Boozy. He says, this is the craziest shit I've ever seen a presidential candidate do in the middle of a campaign. We love our president, don't we, folks? We love the man. This is incredible.
Is your favorite president, Donald J. Trump, with some very exciting news. By popular demand, I'm doing a new series of Trump digital trading cards. You all know what they are. We've had a lot of fun with them. It's called the America First Collection. 50 all-new stunning digital trading cards. It's really something. These cards show me dancing and even me holding some Bitcoins.
He's holding some Bitcoins.
Here's the best part. I'm doing great things for my Trump digital card collectors. First, there's the real physical Trump cards. Purchase 15 or more of my Trump digital trading cards and we'll mail you a beautiful physical trading card. It's really, I think, quite something. Each physical trading card has an authentic piece of my suit that I wore for the presidential debate, and people are calling it the knockout suit. I don't know about that, but that's what they're calling it. So we'll cut up the knockout.
I don't know about that, but that's what they're calling it. The dude will not stick to a script, and I love him for it. This is brilliant. This is brilliant. Cutting up his suit, selling little pieces of it. So the cards are $99. So 15 of them. To get a physical card, it's something like $1,500.
Suit, and you're going to get a piece of it, and we'll be randomly autographing 5 of them, a true collector's item. This is something to give your family, your kids, your grandchildren. Number 2 is to purchase 75 of my Trump digital trading cards, and you will also be invited to join me for a gala dinner at my beautiful country club in Jupiter, Florida. We really have tremendous dinners with my collectors. Have a lot of fun together. We're gonna have a good time. I'm keeping my Trump digital trading.
So that means it's less than $7,500, which is for a table at a gala dinner with Trump there. That's not bad. That's a pretty low price. This is such a great, simple, easy way to fundraise and to allow people to buy into what you're doing. Because there's people who would happily give him this money for nothing. So you're going to give him a trading card. You get to have a cool little memorabilia thing. You can get a piece of his suit. You can even go to a dinner, attend a dinner there. A true man of the people.
Cards at the same price of $99 each. We've done that right from the beginning. So go to collecttrumpcards.com. It's really easy to buy. You just need an email address and a credit card or crypto. You know, they call me the crypto president. I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of people are saying that. So don't miss out. Go to collecttrumpcards.com. Go right now and collect your piece of American history. Let's have fun together and enjoy my Trump cards. We're going to have a lot of fun. We'll be talking about it for a long time. Thank you very much. Have a good time.
Let the fight begin.
It's such terrific boomer bait. Politically Catholic says, least worst option, like with Social Security, is just bringing the Ponzi scheme above board, putting a hard end on it, and replacing it with a new system. Yes. He says, with the intra-ethnic civil war going on, the racketeering schemes just have to end and be replaced with similar ones that fund Christianity and healthy institutions. Hear, hear. Absolutely. This is kind of an interesting little thing I stumbled across. I hadn't considered this possibility, but it's absolutely real, I think. So Phoenix Ammunition said, in the last 5 or 6 months, I've seen a fair number of drivers pull up at red lights, look around a minute, and then drive right through them. Seems to be on the rise, and I'm thinking it's because society is slowly starting to push away from following basic rules altogether. I'm not mad about it particularly. There was nobody in their immediate path, and nobody's life was put in danger, just something I've noticed, wondering what that means. And Joshua Steinman, really good follow on Twitter, he says, elites are engaged in game theoretic defection, disregarding the implied rules developed over centuries. And normal people are observing this and saying to themselves, if they're doing it, then I will too. It's not good. Now, I don't necessarily, I agree that that it is not good, but I also think it's good. And I also think it's inevitable. This is part of the ultimate collapse of, the longhouse, you might say, the nanny state. Everything being managerialized and systematized and all the way down. Like, how many times have you been sitting there on an empty road, there's no cars coming, and you're just sitting there idling in your car, waiting for the light to turn green? This is a endless rant for me. Every single time I pull up to a left turn and there's a red arrow, it makes me angry. You do not need a red arrow. As long as it's green, I should never be stopped. It should always be yield to oncoming traffic. Just a normal left turn. If the light going the same direction as me is green, I should not be sitting there stopped and waiting. You can make all sorts. There's efficiency arguments. There's wear and tear on the vehicle. There's the emissions being pushed out. There's so many different things. We have so much inefficiency and drag imposed upon us by gay little conventions like this. I'm not going to go so far as to say we shouldn't have stoplights. I think, sure, yes, let's have stoplights. If you come up with something better, like I've seen really cool things for roundabouts and everything, but I've also driven around roundabouts with people, and people have learned how to do stoplights. So like trying to get them to learn how to do these really complex roundabouts is probably not really going to work out the way people intend it. But I mean, here's another one. If you're at a really long light, the light turns green. First car pulls away. Second car pulls away. Third car pulls away. Fourth car pulls away. Fifth car pulls away. There is no reason why every single car shouldn't start moving at the same time. The light should be visible. It should be posted and visible to everyone. At this point, I don't give a shit. I want a computer in my car that's keyed in with the light so that when the light turns green, the car everyone starts moving at the same time. There's no reason that it should be this like waterfall effect all the way down. So I didn't expect to get into a traffic rant here, but I do think that Joshua Steinman's point is good, is well taken here. That having the elite class begin, or members of the elite class begin defecting from the regime and pushing back against the rules is going to have a ripple effect throughout the rest of society, which is part of why these sorts of times are so unstable and chaotic. You're not going to prevent that from happening. You can't make it not happen, but you can be aware of it and you can accommodate for it. Recognize that we've lived in a time of great stability for a long time. There's so many little things that are completely predictable that they're totally into our subconscious. We never consciously think about them. You need to be on your guard. Lots of weird revelations are going to happen. We live in an apocalyptic time. So weird little things are going to bubble up. People's behaviors are going to suddenly change as a consequence of it rippling down from the higher levels of society. All right. Let's see here. Yeah, nobody trusts experts anymore. That includes traffic engineers. So this Telegram story is getting really interesting. Got an article from Politico.eu. Go away. This was from August 27, 2024. Macron loves Telegram. French judges hate it. France's president is an avid user of the app, and Politico saw he was online recently. That didn't shield Telegram CEO Pavel Durov from arrest. Open the Telegram chat of anyone in the French political orbit, and you'll notice lawmakers, cabinet members, and presidential advisors online or recently connected. The encrypted messaging app is avidly used within political and media circles, including by French President Emmanuel Macron himself. On Monday, while Telegram founder Pavel Durov was in French police custody, the president was shown as having been connected to the messaging platform recently. A former MP with the French president's number showed Politico on their phone. It's interesting that there's a former MP connecting with who has the French president's number, who is talking to Politico for the sake of this story. Macron has been a Telegram user since the early days of his first presidential campaign. Nearly a decade later, the app remains widely used by both cabinet members and political officials of all ranks and parties, particularly within pro-Macron circles. Durov, the Russian-born founder and CEO of Telegram, was unexpectedly arrested upon landing in France on Saturday night. The precise reason for his arrest has not yet been communicated, but Durov's custody has been extended. The founder's arrest has been criticized by self-proclaimed free speech advocates, self-proclaimed. Not free speech advocates, self-proclaimed free speech advocates, including X and Tesla owner Elon Musk, as well as Russian officials, including Senator Alexei Pushkov. On his own Telegram channel, Pushkov called France a liberal dictatorship that, quote, does not tolerate individuals who claim freedom. Okay, I don't think the rest of this here is necessarily relevant. We'll We'll say authorities have tried to curb Telegram's use in official circles over confidentiality concerns. In November of last year, then Prime Minister Elizabeth Bourne banned ministers and their teams from using WhatsApp, Telegram, and Signal, stressing that, quote, these digital tools are not devoid of security flaws and therefore cannot guarantee the security of conversations and information shared via them. Top officials within the French National Assembly also unsuccessfully urged lawmakers to limit their use of social media apps and messaging services, including Telegram. In both instances, MPs and cabinet members were encouraged to use lesser-known French alternatives. I'll stop here and say, I think this is something I was thinking about the other day when I had the conversation. Which one was it? I was talking to someone in a conversation about it was when I was talking to the German guys. There's this dual phenomenon happening here simultaneously. You get the great centralization of the internet, the great decentralization of the internet. So you've got the largest, most centralized, powerful companies of all time because of the internet. And you also have never before has there been such a greatly decentralized ability to spin up a company through the internet. And so I think this is what's going to happen on the national governance stage. I think we're going to get stronger, more centralized global or transnational organizations, but we're also going to get a decentralized organizational startup effect simultaneously. So local governments or local governing institutions that may or may not look like the governments we are accustomed to are going to have, there's going to be many more of them, and they're going to be more powerful relative to their size. In the same way that a random guy could start a company on the internet and scale it to, just by himself using the different the leverage of the different tools on the internet, they can scale it widely. I think governance, institutions, apparatuses at the local level are going to have a similar effect. And I think one of the ways we're going to see this happen is that there's going to be fewer and fewer globally used apps, and there's going to be more and more local apps that are as it becomes easier and easier to spin one up and be able to maintain it, and there's more and more of a desire for it, you're going to get a lot more local messaging, maybe even off-grid mesh network type stuff. There's going to be a big proliferation in that, and I think there's a similar thing happening here where they're saying use the lesser-known French alternative instead of the globally available one. I think this is a trend that we're going to see more and more, increasing more and more, and it's going to mirror what's happened on the internet, and it's also going to be mirrored into real life with the actual institutions that are used for governing local communities. Let me see these comments here. Josiah says, competency crisis has also hit the engineers who put up stoplights, and they're getting so dumb. I could write a small essay about the stupid things they're doing now. Yes. Yeah. Anybody who rides in the car with me gets tired of me ranting about all the stupid stuff in traffic. Macron's own party, Renaissance, still uses a Telegram channel to send public communications to journalists in a private channel that includes 150 members of the press, as does the French Interior Ministry. Macron also has a public channel where statements and recent news are shared, followed by upwards of 30,000 subscribers, as does the French presidency. Only 30,000 subscribers. During the 2017 presidential campaign, French security officials had already warned the Macron camp about their Telegram use. They told us we were being watched, that we are at risk of hacking, and that we had to be careful with Telegram, which is a Russian app, a Macron advisor was quoted as saying by newspaper Libération. So, coming back to this original tweet here, from @Moxie on Twitter, says this could get crazy if true. Telegram messages are not encrypted. France is trying to arrest the CEO of a Russian team that has plain text access to every message the French president has ever sent or received. Telegram messages aren't end-to-end encrypted. It's also a cloud messenger, meaning all messages live on Telegram servers rather than the user's device. With one query, the Russian Telegram team can get every message the French president has ever sent or received to his contacts, every message those contacts have ever sent or received to their contacts, every message those contacts have ever sent or received, etc. It's just plain text. There are no limits to what they can do, like using an LLM to help go through all that material and pull out the dirt, map the relationships, figure out who's keeping secrets from who, etc. For the French politicians and cabinet members, it's kind of too late to do anything. Even if they try to delete all their messages now, the Telegram team can just mark the messages as deleted so that they no longer display to the user, but not actually delete the data they retain access to. This could get really wild. Adding to this, Balaji says, can Telegram prove entrapment? Normally, Telegram would not be able to lawfully release any of Macron's Telegram messages, but it is now being reported that Macron invited Pavel Durov to a dinner in France, thereby luring him to the country for arrest. The French government apparently denies this, but any such invitation by Macron would likely have been extended in part on Telegram, given that Macron has reportedly been a user for many years. So Telegram may have the evidence on its servers to show that Macron lured Durov to France. All that remains is for another credible government, perhaps the UAE, to serve Telegram with a lawful search warrant for evidence on the unlawful detention of its citizen, Pavel Durov. Telegram could then be compelled by legal process to find evidence, if it existed, of Macron entrapping Pavel Durov, and the UAE government could choose to present this evidence to the French government or publish it to the world. Needless to say, proof of such skullduggery would be a black eye for France, for Macron, and for anyone in DC who might have been involved with the arbitrary persecution of a tech entrepreneur and his 1 billion users. Whether the entrapment was illegal or not, it certainly wouldn't help bring tech investment to France. And I think this could be the bigger story. France would probably release Durov rather than suffer continuous public humiliation with the lawful release of each new Macron message, should they exist. In this fashion, the Telegram network and the UAE state might join forces to free their CEO and the citizen. It says, this report says Durov claimed he landed for dinner with Macron. It's credible given Durov's profile and that Macron himself reportedly sponsored Durov for French citizenship back in 2021. Macron is reportedly a heavy Telegram user. It's likely he communicated with Durov through the app, and at least some of it may be on Telegram servers or Durov's phone. So this would be Sean McGuire says this would be a twist for the ages. Robbie Starbuck, insanity. Macron has gone off the deep end. There was another comment here. I had this one bookmarked to listen to. I haven't listened to it yet. I can't find the other one that I was gonna highlight. Oh well. Very, very interesting. Very interesting. The UAE seems to very much understand why, what I think is probably the primary motivating factor behind this, which is the leak of Israeli intelligence records that they did not want leaked. I don't think it's a coincidence that this happened right after that. But I also think that many of these things could be multivariant. And it creates an opportunity, even if that was the pretext for it, it now creates an opportunity for interested, motivated, connected individuals to pursue something like what Balaji is signal boosting here. It could be that kind of ironic that Telegram may have been set up as a honeypot for dissidents or something like that. I'm inclined to like Pavel Durov, but some of these things are a little. The very fact that it's not end-to-end encrypted, that it's stored as plain text, all that stuff is kind of like, I'm open to arguments either way, but it definitely seems sketchy to me. But it'd be kind of funny if it winds up being a honeypot that can be weaponized on a geopolitical level against the regime itself. And again, and I think this is more evidence, this is not something that's just restricted to the American regime, because the American regime isn't an American regime. It's a foreign occupation that has recruited Americans, but it is not an American regime. So this reactiveness, this clumsiness, this inability to stay out of scandal, and getting more and more buffoonishly authoritarian. I don't even want to say authoritarian, because I think authoritarian is a needlessly denigrated word. I think authoritarianism is good. But so there's this buffoonish anarcho-tyranny. It's not even good anarcho-tyranny. It's just buffoonish and incompetent and reactive, which is kind of jarring, and it takes people a while to recognize that and begin adapting for it and to build around it and try to corner it. Go back to my analogy from yesterday about the diffusing an explosive where there's no rhyme or reason to how it was created, and you've got a bunch of toddlers running around you with chainsaws. It might take you a little bit to solve that problem, even if the problem itself is ostensibly relatively straightforward to solve. Mike Solana from Pirate Wires is one of these who's obviously, for obvious reasons, very exercised about the Durov arrest. He says, shall we arrest the writers at The Guardian? Based. My thoughts on the increasingly unhinged calls to jail our entrepreneurs in this morning's Pirate Wires Daily. Go subscribe to Pirate Wires. It's very much worthwhile, and it's good for keeping tabs on these guys. He says, jail the journalists. Right on the heels of arguing the British government should extradite Elon Musk for tweeting, The Guardian published another piece making the case for literally jailing American tech executives. In yesterday's latest steaming pile, Telegram founder Pavel Durov, arrested in Paris for apparently insufficient spying and censorship, was only the opening target. Sadly, the author wrote, it could be a while before Zuckerberg and Elon Musk are, quote, led away in shackles for ignoring European bureaucrats. Excuse me, what? Now, yes, these people don't matter. Funny to imagine the crying, the screaming, the fleshy jiggling cheeks if we called for their arrest, however. But a message so insane would have been unthinkable a year ago, and Europe has always been the canary in the coal mine. Then again, it increasingly seems when civil war does come, it will be Brooklyn-based vegans fighting roided-out tech bros. And I don't hate those odds. Our friend group is expanding. On the subject of piracy, I have been a proponent for years now that you have no privacy. You should not act as if you have privacy. Anybody trying to sell you privacy is, whether they mean to or not, they are grifting on you. There's little ways you could protect certain aspects of privacy, but you should not act as if you have privacy. Here's a great example of this. AI turns Wi-Fi routers into cameras that see people through walls.
What they did is they had, a camera looking at a space with people in it. That's sort of like coming in from one eye. The other eye is the radio signals, so sonar from the Wi-Fi router. And they just learned to predict, like, this is where the human beings are. Then they took away the camera. So all the AI had was the language of radio signals bouncing around a room. And this is what they're able to reconstruct. Real-time 3D pose estimation, right? So suddenly AI has turned every Wi-Fi router into a camera that can work in the dark, specially tuned for tracking living beings.
So, like, there's no preventing this world. You can dislike it all you want, but it's gonna happen. Far more egregious invasions of privacy than this will be conceived of. Privacy just does not exist. You have to act as if you don't have privacy. Be prepared to defend publicly every single thing you say or do. And I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to have privacy, but that also means if you have privacy, it facilitates lots of bad stuff. So privacy is not an inherent good. Don't think that you have it. You have to act as if you have no privacy. A related story to this, I didn't pull it up here, but a related story is there was I want to say it was Stanford or MIT, I can't remember. They did this experiment where they were in like a sealed and closed room and had a bag of chips, and they spoke at the bag of chips. They said, Mary had a little lamb, a little lamb, a little lamb. Mary had a little lamb, blah, 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 blah. They spoke to it, and then they were able to reconstruct and play audibly the sound of them saying that based on the vibrations that affected the bag of chips. So they were able to, like, scan the bag of chips, speak to it, and scan it again and see the vibrations on it and reconstruct what was said. And you could play it. It sounded like someone talking. Because that's what speech is. It's vibrations. So if they want to get something that you're saying in your house, they can reconstruct it remotely. They just have to be able to sense the vibrations going on in your house, and they can reconstruct anything that you're saying. So unless you're just going to, like, live in a cabin in the woods and whisper and, I don't know, you never have a book or a computer or a paper or a pen or anything around you, you just don't have any privacy. Just live as if you don't. which is actually pretty freeing. It's a nice kind of like, don't have to worry about it. Kate says Telegram is sketchy in general, especially seeing people spurg out in over-the-top ways on chat that look like it was done by bots or feds. This is why I think I shared a thing before about, it was something from Landshark about how anti-Semitism used to be like an aristocratic exercise. It was never meant for the plebs. This is why the really like the Lucas Gage types, the guys who just completely spurg out on the internet about it, like they're indistinguishable from feds or bots. This is the way a fed or a bot would act. These are feds who aren't necessarily, they don't have to be on the payroll to be a fed. Being able to maintain the difference between the high IQ and low IQ, being able to talk about these things in non-hyper emotionalized spurg out sorts of ways is actually a way of shielding and protecting communities from subversion. So giving people a platform where they can go completely cut loose is not necessarily a good thing. It's not necessarily someone trying to do something for you. Maintaining some sort of decorum and making certain things off limits to talk about is actually a good way of protecting you from your enemies. Not all opinions are for all people, yes. All right. Andrew says, like my uncle always says, if you wouldn't want it on the front page of the Washington Post, then don't put it in writing. Yeah. Right. All right. Now here's the part. I mean, I've towed the line a little bit here today. This may be the one that does it. We'll see. Ian Carroll posted this video and then got his TikTok. He got the video taken down and he got a strike and on TikTok. So we'll see what happens on YouTube, but I think this is worth sharing. So, and I also am very curious to see what the current state of things is. So
I'm about to talk about what we're not allowed to talk about. So instead of the word interference, I'm going to use the word tomatoes just for fun, and you'll understand what I mean here. Because RFK said a lot of amazing things on the Tucker Carlson interview he just did, but one big thing that he said out loud that no one's been saying out loud yet is that the CIA actively did election tomatoes in the 2020 election, and we all know it, and it's well proven, and it's not controversial, but no one wants to admit it or talk about it. And I'm just going to throw some shots across the bow right now at the start of this video, that any platform that censors this video is actively engaging in election tomatoes, again, by censoring not only free speech, but true free speech that is being critical of their handlers in the agency.
And Democrats can't even hear this story because it touches so many sort of culture war buttons, but it's a true story that Hunter Biden's laptop suddenly became an issue about a week before the debate. And Anthony Blinken, who is now the Secretary of State, and who was then the director of President Biden's campaign, went to Gina Haspel, who is the head of this director of the CIA, and said to her, we need help with this. She then got 51 CIA, current and former CIA officers.
Remember this whole headline? Everything he just said is true, and I'm about to show you the original sources, the actual documents. This is just basic facts. More than 50 former senior intelligence officials, it was 51 to be exact, signed this letter outlining their belief that recent disclosed emails about the laptop has all the classic earmarks of a Russian information operation. This is the actual letter, which no one decided.
So he's just playing a video that's posted on YouTube right now of RFK talking to Tucker about this. He's quoting him. And then he's showing these documents that are published. This is public knowledge. These are just publicly available facts.
To actually read, because they lay out their allegations and then they say, quote, we want to emphasize that we do not know if the emails provided to the New York Post by President Trump's personal attorney Giuliani are genuine or not, and that we do not have evidence of Russian involvement. Just that our experience makes us deeply suspicious that the Russian government played a significant role in this case. So literally nothing. They're just making up claims to do what? Exactly. I mean,
that's a great point. In this letter, when they said it has all the hallmarks of Russian disinformation, they said we don't actually know if it's true. We're just giving our professional opinion that it looks like the thing that would be true.
It's not like the CIA has been doing election tomatoes all across the world ever since it was first founded. Look it up. They do it with bags of cash. They do it with coups. They do it with assassinations, all sorts of things. In this case, they do it with information. And all 51 of these dudes signed this letter. And at the bottom, it tells you who they are. This is all of their names in the order in which they appear. And you only...
Jim Clapper, Mike Hayden, Leon Panetta, John Brennan. 4 names at the top. That should tell you all you need to know.
You need to look up the first 2 to realize, Jim Clapper, former director of national intelligence? Yeah, he perjured himself when he lied to us about the NSA spying operations. Oh, and Michael Hayden? Yeah, he set up those NSA spying operations, lied to us about them.
These are just quotes from Wikipedia.
And then he also lied to us about the torture programs at places like Guantanamo Bay. Oh, and by the way, Gina Haspel, the CIA director that RFK was referencing at the start, the one that got this all moving, yeah, she was actually involved in those illegal torture programs, and then she helped cover it up by destroying like a whole bunch of tapes of those programs at a black site. So the list of top intelligence officials are literally professional deep state liars. And we know that, factually. I mean, if you knew history, you would know that before you even knew that, because the job of the CIA is to lie to you. Think about it. You don't need a covert intelligence agency to do things that you're allowed to do in the open. Then you would just do it with the normal government. And this letter was originally provided to Politico by former top aide under CIA Director John Brennan, Nick Shapiro. Nick Shapiro is an expert in crisis management for the CIA. Like the kind of crisis where the guy you want to get into office suddenly has this big scandal coming out and you need to discredit it. That kind of crisis. Don't worry about the fact that the CIA is expressly forbidden from interfacing with anything on American soil and definitely with anything to do with elections. Definitely no election tomatoes here in America, just protecting us from disinformation. And not just the kind of disinformation that is wildly embarrassing, and not just the kind of disinformation that implies straight up pedophilic interest in his child niece. There's pretty much only one reason why a dude duplicates the same photo of his child niece in her bathing suit over and over and over again all throughout his camera roll. Does it with pictures of her friends too. Has like whole photo shoots. It's super messed up. But obviously it was done to him and his siblings in their childhood too. Whole other rabbit hole. These things happen in cycles. But it also had evidence of all sorts of much more governmental level corruption that you can find in reports like the court testimony of Jason Galanis, Hunter Biden's third business partner, the one that would not play ball, and so they tried to lock him up and keep him out of the courtroom so that he could not tell the true story of what Hunter Biden had been up to, where he clearly alleges that he has multiple instances of knowing without any doubt that Mr. Joe Biden was very much aware of Hunter's business deals and was very much influence peddling on behalf of Hunter. This is in reference to China, but we all know it was in reference to Ukraine too, where conveniently a little war-doozy happened. But anyways, the letter was enough for Biden to call it misinformation on the debate stage and brush it aside, for the mainstream media to run cover in every single publication, just fucking propaganda, despite us now having House Oversight Committee documents clearly detailing the forensic analysis of the actual accounts, bank accounts, money transferring in and out of Biden family bank accounts. But somehow people still want to bury their head in the sand because they've been programmed to be so angry about this orange guy that they can't even face up to the fact that maybe there's more going on here. Like, oh, you could never believe that the president of the United States would do something like that and he would never be corrupt like that? First of all, not even up to him. It's the CIA doing these things, and we all know how they do. And second of all, I've got news for you. Mr. Bill Clinton, the president of the United States, pause, think about it. He was inviting Jeffrey to the White House like 17 times. He was engaging in the services that Epstein provided all throughout his presidency. And they just invited him to speak at the DNC. As if you don't have a memory. As if you don't know who he really is. This isn't like, oh, he likes chocolate ice cream on the side and that's silly. This is like, hello? What Bill was actually up to makes the Monica Lewinsky scandal seem like a typo. And what the CIA is actually up to is everything they accuse Orange Man Bad of doing. And don't get me wrong, I don't have any great love for Orange Man. I just abhor intelligence agencies meddling in our shit and then pretending like they're protecting us. So, props to RFK for speaking the truth finally, even at great personal risk. Props to anyone who's thinking for themselves. Props to Tucker for hosting great conversations. You don't need to agree with people these days on every topic in order to realize that some people are here for truth and honesty and righteousness and just whatever's real, and other people are straight up fucking lying. At this point, it's not about lefts and rights, it's not about reds and blues, it's about the liars, the corrupt, the evil. And those who have real opinions and honesty and integrity and are going to have respectful conversations about our differences, not make up lies, tomato elections, and destroy our country. That's pretty much where we're at now. So basically, fuck the CIA.
That was that last line. That was what he got. That's what he got taken down for. So this is his follow-up. He says, TikTok is actively engaging in election tomatoes on a mass scale right now. This video is factual. I share all the sources in it. But just like in the 2020 election, they must protect you from harmful, inconvenient truths. I now have a strike and my reach is diminished and my earnings will be severely impacted by it. They're literally proving my video correct in a whole new way by doing it themselves now, and this censorship influences this election. They do this to thousands of videos every day that don't fit the prescribed narrative. You can't discuss basic facts. How can we have a free and fair election? We can't. We're not supposed to. Removed for integrity and authenticity. So he has appealed it. I'll be interested to see what happens with the appeal. I don't know if I've heard back on it yet. It was taken down on the basis of civic and election integrity. You got an account warning. The next violation will result in being prevented from accessing some features. You have accumulated strikes from previous violations. And okay, his appeal was rejected. So, this is a test. We're going to find out what happens with the YouTube channel here. Mr. Anxiety Flop, I was just joking. I don't know if that's what it actually would do. I think he had way too many. He had all the hot button words there. He had the E name. He had the H name. He had talking about too many big figures and too many buzzwords and everything that I think it probably just triggered an algorithm. And then someone went and watched it and they were like, nope. But yeah, so if the King Pilled channel all of a sudden goes quiet for a little bit, you'll understand why. I'll continue streaming on X. So you can just go follow me at Real King Pilled, and I'll continue doing the Astrolabe there. Thank goodness for the existence of that platform. All right. And for those who have joined since then, I created a Buy Me a Coffee. So if you want to contribute a little something to the efforts here, particularly if the channel gets a strike or something like that, then just go to buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled, and you can toss me some shekels there. So this story is great. So Boeing is just taking one black eye after another. You've got these astronauts who are out there and who are trapped now. Headline from, or a quote from Bloomberg: a mission that would have reduced U.S. government reliance on Elon Musk's SpaceX is ending with NASA turning to it for help, highlighting the influence the billionaire and his closely held company have over America's ambitions in outer space. The dude's literally bailing them out of a massive, massive crisis. And this is indicating the influence that he has. Actually, the reason they failed is his fault. No, I haven't covered the pro-life grifters yet. That's still coming. Pro golf lifters. So here's the article. Canadians, frickin' Leafs, BNN Bloomberg.ca. SpaceX tightens its grips on NASA by bringing Boeing crew home. Fuck Bruce Einhorn. A mission that would have reduced okay, I read that already. For years, SpaceX has offered the only rides for people to and from the International Space Station aboard U.S. rockets. How dare they? How dare they be the only people offering it? Musk's company also is the world's leading provider of satellite launches, and is Starlink network the top operator of internet services from low Earth orbit. To give itself more options, NASA wanted to use Starliner, a new spacecraft from Boeing Co., for trips to the ISS. To give itself more options. Canada should be banned from space. The Leafs are not allowed. Astronauts Suni Williams and Barry Butch Wilmore became the first to travel on Starliner in early June for what was supposed to be a visit of about 1 week. Early June. Supposed to be a visit of 1 week. They're still there. Numerous technical glitches with the space capsule forced NASA on August 24 to announce the two will be forced to return on a previously scheduled February flight aboard SpaceX's Crew Dragon. So they've still got to wait another 6 months. They were supposed to be there for a week. The move is a major blow to Boeing's space business and a sign of just how reliant NASA has become on Musk's company for critical space operations. NASA always wanted to have more than one option, quote, but that hasn't worked out so far, said Carter Palmer, lead analyst for space systems at Forecast International, I'm not going to say that out loud, Connecticut-based aerospace and defense market research firm. The U.S. Space Agency hasn't given up on Starliner. NASA Administrator Bill Nelson told reporters he's certain Starliner would launch with crews again. Which crew wants to go? How are they going to get people to actually go on it? Pushing them into the... Someone do something with Starliner boxcars. Even before the Starliner crisis, SpaceX's dominant position in the U.S. space ecosystem has attracted notice, especially among critics of Musk. SpaceX has launched more than 80 missions of its Falcon 9 and Falcon Heavy rockets this year, including several for the U.S. government, compared with just 4 for rivals United Launch Alliance and 10 for Rocket Lab USA, Inc. Musk's space company completed 96 launches for all of 2023. The market for placing large geostationary satellites into orbit is a temporary de facto monopoly, according to Bloomberg intelligence analyst John Davies. He wrote in a July 17 research note that only SpaceX made commercial launches in 2023, though 3 rivals were successful in 2022. SpaceX also has a huge head start over rivals when it comes to smaller low Earth satellite launches. Its Starlink space-based internet service boasts more than 6,000 communication satellites already in operation. Amazon.com Inc. has plans to build a rival network, Project Kuiper, but so far has just launched 2 test satellites. Now, maybe they'll catch up. Starlink's global reach is extended into the battlefield, including unauthorized user access in zones subject to U.S. sanctions. Ukraine has relied on Starlink to provide critical communication services during its war against Russia, and Musk last year alarmed many of his critics after saying he denied a request by Kiev to use the network for an attack on Russian targets near the coast of occupied Crimea. Earlier this year, Ukrainian military intelligence said Russian forces were using Starlink terminals on the front lines, although SpaceX has since taken steps to work with U.S. government officials to limit illicit use by Russia. Quote, the potential influence exerted by Mr. Musk over U.S. foreign policy and recent comments that appear to indicate an indifference to U.S. national security concerns raises questions, Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren wrote in a letter to the U.S. Department of Defense in May. Yes, I think Elon Musk is clearly not concerned about U.S. national security concerns. This problem is exacerbated not just by Mr. Musk's personal wealth, but by the fact that SpaceX appears to have monopoly power over satellite internet access and space payload delivery and passenger travel, a troubling national security problem, she wrote. Yes, it is, indeed. It is a problem for you. SpaceX has a growing portfolio of business deals with the Pentagon. Last September, the company won its first contract from the U.S. Space Force to provide customized satellite communications for the military. The Defense Department has rebuffed concerns it's too reliant on SpaceX, with one senior official saying the company provides the government with valuable services, but also noting the government expects more competition to develop later this decade. This is noteworthy. The Defense Department has rebuffed concerns it's too reliant on SpaceX. So who's coming after SpaceX, and who seems to be indifferent to those concerns? Another U.S. company capable of flying to the ISS is Northrop Grumman Corp., but its Cygnus space freighter operates uncrewed cargo missions, with the most recent arrival at the space station taking place on August 6th. Because it has flown so many more missions than any rival, SpaceX is far ahead of the pack in creating reliable and safe vehicles, said Jonathan Clark, whose experience with NASA included serving as crew surgeon for six missions of the space shuttle. The most reliable spacecraft out there is the Crew Dragon, he said. It's all about getting experience and having a robust, proven system. And right now, that's Crew Dragon. Okay, more complaining about Elon and Don Pettit. NASA's Donald Pettit is scheduled to fly with 2 cosmonauts on Russia's Soyuz MS-26 spacecraft in September, but NASA doesn't want to become dependent on Russia, which the U.S. government views as a strategic threat in space. Look at our space program, man. They're caught between becoming dependent on Russia and being dependent on Elon Musk. Huh. I must say that never, since I was exposed to the notion that space is fake, never have I had less trust in that idea than I do now. Because the fact that we aren't getting a deluge of stories talking about how fake space is, I would expect that the regime would rather release the information that space is fake than allow Elon Musk to bail them out of such a humiliating spot. My space is fake, bros. I don't know. It might be over. Related story with Starlink. Yes, Jim Bob's Don Pettit is a great impression. In last Friday's letter to the FCC, SpaceX said its Starlink direct-to-cell technology will be able to send emergency alerts to all wireless users in cellular dead zones, even if they haven't signed up for the satellite-based service, including non-T-Mobile customers. It said since filing its supplemental coverage applications over 18 months ago, T-Mobile and SpaceX have worked rapidly in response to the enthusiastic support and eager anticipation from T-Mobile subscribers, including first responders, for satellite direct-to-cellular service that closes mobile dead zones everywhere. SpaceX has already launched nearly 130 direct-to-cellular satellites into space over the last 8 months, with more launches on the way. T-Mobile and SpaceX have also made significant progress testing the early network, demonstrating the robust capabilities of the system to connect consumers and first responders in a wide diversity of conditions, from rural fields and oak-filled valleys to dense urban environments, including while on the move. The two companies are especially excited about the service's capability to provide wireless emergency alerts to everyone, including non-T-Mobile customers, in areas where there is no terrestrial coverage. Based on the success of these tests, T-Mobile and SpaceX are now poised to launch commercial service to fully realize the chairwoman's signature vision of a single network future, connecting Americans in places that have never had mobile service before. So Elon replied to this and said this could help a lot of people if they're stranded in the wilderness. And then, let's see, he sent this tweet at 3:02, and he sent this one at 3:16. So right away, he said, after thinking it through, SpaceX Starlink will provide emergency services access for mobile phones for people in distress for free. This applies worldwide, subject to approval by country governments. Can't have a situation where someone dies because they forgot or were unable to pay for it. Obviously, if it's being provided for free, They're getting something in return for that. I do think that Elon is the type of person that would have the fewest strings attached for a service like this. I do think he genuinely believes this. Can't have a situation where someone dies because they forgot we're unable to pay for it. He recognizes his responsibility. And the type of people who are around him, they recognize they would support a responsibility to, if you have the ability to provide this, you have an obligation to provide it. The cost for us, yes. This means that they're going to have, data, probably. Extra access to data. Again, you don't have privacy. This will save lives. It also means you're sacrificing some privacy. But this is what it looks like when you have a great man doing great things. Don't, what is the saying to, never check the mouth of a gift horse, never look into the mouth of a gift horse, something like that. If somebody gives you a gift, if someone makes a great move to help a lot of people, then it's in real bad taste to be like, oh, but what's he getting out of it? All right, pro-life grifters. Oops. Share this tab. All right. Hold on real quick. That reminded me that I do need to retweet this again. Try to get some other people in here. All right. Whoops. Man, I am just goobering it up today. Cernovich. All right. Not to beat a dead horse, but a question. I mean it sincerely. Do you believe, truly, that Lindsey Graham is pro-life? Is there anything about him that says this man has love in his heart? Not a rhetorical question. Do you believe he is pro-life? He's not. Obviously. And you're a fool if you think otherwise. Now ask yourself, why would Lindsey Graham propose a nationwide abortion ban, 0% chance of passing in 2022 when a red wave was forming? Now ask yourself, why, weeks from a significant election, are people who claim to be pro-life trying to suppress votes? Again, I mean that with all sincerity. Ask yourself why they would do this. Another appearance of right-wing nutters, old Tory right on Twitter. He says, all I'm saying is I find it suspicious that Trump was riding high off the RFK endorsement, exciting his base and welcoming a base expansion. And on Sunday, you get a bunch of extra effort to attack him from the right from his one base vulnerability. This isn't organic. So that's the setup for this. This was the story that really kicked everything off. Video from J.D. Vance in this interview. Let me play this. And then Lila Rose responded.
Democrats made the case this week and beyond this week that Donald Trump, if elected, will impose a federal ban on abortion if he wins. Now, Donald Trump says he won't, but can you commit, Senator, sitting right here with me today, that if you and Donald Trump are elected, that you will not impose a federal ban on abortion?
I can absolutely commit that, Kristen. Donald Trump has been as clear about that as possible. I think it's important to step back and say, what has Donald Trump actually said on the abortion question, and how is it different from what Kamala Harris and the Democrats have said? Donald Trump wants to end this culture war over this particular topic. If California wants to have a different abortion policy from Ohio, then Ohio has to respect California, and California has to respect Ohio. Donald Trump's view is that we want the individual states and their individual cultures and their unique political sensibilities to make these decisions because we don't want to have a nonstop federal conflict over this issue. The federal government ought to be focused on getting food prices down, getting housing prices down, issues, of course, where Kamala Harris has been a total disaster. So I think Donald Trump is right. We want the federal government to focus on these big economic and immigration questions. Let the states figure out their own abortion policy.
Let me just follow up with you a little bit on that point, because I've been talking to Republicans, including Senator Lindsey Graham just last week, who've made it very clear that if Donald Trump is elected, if you are elected, they will continue to press this point. Senator Graham said to me, I'm going to keep saying that there should be a federal ban. If such a piece of legislation landed on Donald Trump's desk, would he veto it?
I think it'd be very clear he would not support it. I mean, he
But
said
would
that
he veto
explicitly.
it?
Yeah, I mean, if you're not supporting it as the President of the United States, you
So
fundamentally
he would
have to veto
veto
it.
a federal abortion ban.
I think he would. He said that explicitly that he would.
So, Lila Rose says, if you don't stand for pro-life principles, you don't get pro-life votes. Then she went on to say, Trump advance have recently said Trump would veto a national ban on abortion. They support access to abortion pills, 60% of all abortions. They think it's California's right to permit abortion up until birth, but if states like Arizona ban most abortions, they go too far. Due to their increasingly pro-abortion position, Trump advance is stretching the lesser of two evils voting strategy to an untenable position. Without some indication that they will work to make our nation a safer place for preborn children, they are making it impossible for pro-life voters to support them. Being less passionate about killing babies than Harris Walls is not enough. I'm not going to show that for many reasons. I want to get I've got a number of tabs here, and then I'm going to comment on it. So, Scott Greer says, Lila Rose gets paid nearly $280,000 a year to post content like this and pretend she represents the conservative base. It's time to defund Pro-Life Inc. So this is from May 29, 2020. Lila Rose says, powerful write-up on the faith of George Floyd. Rest in peace and may justice be served. And then this kicked off a whole shitstorm. Has been one of the big things everyone's been debating in the town square, which makes the timing of this tweet very interesting. Mike Pence, is this yesterday? Yeah, yesterday morning. Mike Pence, proud of you, at Lila Grace Rose. Thank you for your courageous stand for the right to life. So she's in the middle of this firestorm for making this statement, and now is when Mike Pence comes out and throws his support behind her. This should tell you a lot. Like, this lays the game wide open. It shows the whole thing immediately. Why, echoing Cernovich, why would people like Mike Pence and Lindsey Graham and apparently Lila Grace Rose, why would they be choosing now to really go after this issue? The reason why is because pro-life is a very profitable grift. The pro-life effort. Working on the pro-life effort, campaigning on this effort is has nothing to do with actually protecting the lives of babies. Or it's tangential at best. Bad Hombre says, hey, Lila, the latest publicly available Form 990 for your live action nonprofit shows your organization brought in over $14 million in 2022. According to the statement of functional expenses, only $24,000 was spent in grants to domestic organizations for pro-life causes, and only $81,000 for lobbying. The rest went to Lila and her team's lavish lifestyle. He says, Lila, get on a space and let's talk about your financials. I'll donate $10,000 if you answer some questions. Now, I saw people who were defending this. They were saying, well, the reason live action exists isn't for the sake of giving grants or lobbying. It exists for making videos. Okay, so what you're saying is that the reason that organization exists is so that they can bring in donations to make videos. What does that mean for the future of their organization if suddenly the issue is no longer something that they can campaign on? If it's not a national level issue, if you have to restrict it to individual states, well, that makes things more complicated, doesn't it? Yeah, or helping women who need support instead of abortion. Now, there was, here's the rundown of their finances from 2022. $13.5 million in total revenue, $13.9 million in total expenses. $3.1 million in professional fundraising services, $3.3 million in advertising and promotion, $3 million in compensation for key employees, $3 million in compensation for employees. Now, yes, they're in the DC area. Things are expensive there. Making $280,000 as a salary isn't, this isn't riding high on the hog necessarily in DC. But when you very opportunely decide to start soapboxing on an issue like this, in an election where the decisions couldn't possibly... I don't need to run through everything about this election. You guys know, you guys understand. There's no way you can possibly tie yourself in such a knot as an honest person to say, it is prudent that I withhold my vote from Donald Trump. I will punish him for not running on the platform of a national abortion ban. What has been the anti-Roe v. Wade rhetoric for years? It's been return it to the states. Let the states make their own decisions. Trump actually, I think it was when he was talking to Sean Ryan. It was one of the interviews he did recently. He had laid this out pretty clearly. He's like, this is something to be decided at the state issue. The federal government doesn't need to be involved in this. The federal government doesn't prosecute murder. Murder is prosecuted at the state issue, at the state level. So let the states sort this out themselves. And I really like JD's framing here that this doesn't need to be something that's causing perpetual conflict and turmoil at the federal level. This is just diverting resources and attention and energy away from solving problems that the federal government ought to be involved in solving. I am the most radical my position on abortion is the most radical anti-abortion position possible. But I also recognize, number one, it's not prudent to try to do this at the federal level because attempting to do it at the federal level will ensure more abortions. You fucking midwits. If you want to prevent abortions, this is the way to do it. Political campaigning and political policy are different. Federal policy and state policy is different. Advocating for a national abortion ban is lazy. No, you have to do the hard work. It's not just sitting in an office making videos and raking in millions of donations for it. This is corrupt. You could do that. You could do the sitting in an office making videos. But the purpose needs to be directed at solving this problem in the way it can be solved. Not grandstanding so that you can morally preen and ensure the gravy train keeps running. $500,000 in travel expenses. $273,000 in payroll taxes, $278,000 in office expenses. What the hell kind of office expenses do you have? $205,000 in salaries and wages. So altogether, compensation, $3.3 million-ish. $94,000 in lobbying, $166,000 in legal services, $47,000 in insurance. That seems really high. $25,000 in grants for pro-life causes. This is grifting. This is grifting in one of the most brazen, disgusting ways imaginable. Grifting on the pro-life cause is I don't think you could get lower than that. And maybe she's sincere. Maybe this is a story about why women shouldn't be running these kinds of organizations. But whether she's sincerely grifting or insincerely grifting doesn't matter to me. It's still a grift. And the reason that this is a story right now, the reason that these people are championing this cause, this is the way politics works. The actual words they're saying don't matter. The impact of them and the reason that they're saying them is what matters. They're doing this to undermine the Trump campaign. And what is the effect of undermining the Trump campaign? The effect of undermining the Trump campaign is ensuring a Kamala election. How many abortions, what do you think the abortion rate will do? What will happen with the abortion rate under a President Kamala versus a President Trump? Do you think we're going to get more or fewer? If you can't do this simple math, then your best case scenario is you're just retarded and you need to shut up. Worst case scenario, more likely, is you're cravenly corrupt, in which case you need to shut up and be imprisoned. A great point here from my man in the chat, politically Catholic, Andrew. Said, worth noting that vagueness is a double-edged sword. I was thinking about this the other day, that it's actually a bad thing that politicians are seen as corrupt and scummy. Like the role of politician is seen as being fundamentally corrupt and scummy. Because statesman and statesmanship is a skill. And it's an industry that we need. We are severely lacking in statesmanship. Part of statesmanship is cleverness and understanding how to be effective at getting what you want and what needs to be done. So vagueness in legislation is a double-edged sword. Were this to pass, all Ron DeSantis would have to do is pass a law defining the terms to make them sufficiently restrictive. So you can use a word like viability, and then you just define viability as 7 weeks. You can use a word like mother's health, and then you just define it as severe injury or death. Medical professional can then be defined as licensed medical doctor, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the way to think about these things. This is how to approach these kinds of issues. The leftists, I'm not going to say the left anymore because that makes it seem like it makes it bigger and more important than they are. It's just leftists. Leftists have been very, very good at this. That's a bad thing. They should not be the only ones who can occupy the role of statesman, the necessary role of statesman in society, and do it in a clever, effective way. We need clever, effective, right-wing statesmen. Our country is crying out for statesmanship. All right, last 2 clips I've got here. Going to end it on a high note. Probably the best clips from the Sean Ryan Show interview with Trump. Talking about rhinos. Obviously, this has been one of the biggest critiques of Trump is that he allowed himself to be surrounded by rhinos. Here's his response.
And many were really good. I mean, Bob Lighthizer, I had great trade people. I had some great people. But I also picked people that, in retrospect, I wouldn't have picked. But now I know the smart ones, the dumb ones, the weak ones, the solid ones, the ones like you. I know the people. I know everybody, sort of like everybody. And we're going to have a great government. I didn't know. I had to rely on people I'd ask, I don't want to use names because I don't want to embarrass. They're not bad people, but I'd ask people that were rhinos, who do you recommend for such and such a position? All important positions. And they'd recommend some people that were rhinos or something, or weak or not good. And I don't have to ask too much right now. I know the people, and I've known them through fighting and wars. I've known them through, because all this stuff. I had great support. Don't forget, I beat Nancy Pelosi. I beat all these people, every one of them. And somebody said, if you look at it, he beat the Clinton family, right? And that was really Obama too, because he was behind her 100% like he was running.
Take this with the comment by RFK about Trump's opinion on the neocons. And it seems pretty clear what his position on all of this is now. Of course, who knows how this bears itself out, but it's lining up in the right way. Very last clip. Go follow Logan Hall on Twitter, Logan Clark Hall. Very much one of our guys. Great poster. Here's our president.
They thought I was just going to have some fun. Everyone said, he's got too good a life. I did. I had the greatest life. I went from that to having bullets shot at me, okay? I had the greatest life. And they said, would you do it again? I said, without question, because we're going to save the country. It's much more important than I had a good life. A lot of people have a good life. It's like not the same thing. We're going to make America great again. Literally, we're going to make America greater than ever before. If we don't do it this time, we'll never be able to do it. It'll be too late. It'll be too far gone. They thought I was just going to have some fun. Everyone said,
I had the greatest life. I went from that to having bullets shot at me. They said, would you do it again? Without question, because we're going to save the country. A lot of people have a good life. It's not the same thing. He's a good man. Alrighty, guys. That's all I got for today. Just hitting 2 hours right there. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. Share the show. Subscribe to the channel. Buymeacoffee.com/kingpilled if you want to chip in a little bit, or if you want to chip in more and you want to get the most for your money, go to kingpilled.com, sign up for the King Pill Discord, and yeah, I'll see you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow with the best afternoon morning show on the internet. As we go out, work smarter, not harder. I'm going to give it to you guys. You ready? You ready, brother? Taylor, you ready? Here it is.
They're my hero. And they tried to kill the next president of the United States. Enough was enough. And I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.